in general, I also just think Tomo is going to be more likely to play the Ziggs than Quid. One thing I want to point out on the other side, though, is that the Nasus could be going either top or mid still, right?
You don't want to play that into Renekton, I don't think.
No,
Yeah,
no, I don't think you do either. I think it's going to be Jojo. But then the response is, what do you think they are going to pick into it for Quid?
See, I think Quid plays.
Will he play this Garen champion?
Like he played Silas in the past. Like,
I mean, Silas does look good right now.
He probably
Silas
would
looks
play
really
Garen.
good.
I mean,
Gnar
he
ult,
flexed
Nasus
the
ult.
Aatrox into mid once too, right?
I think Quid does actually have a very big melee champion pool. So I think he'd be willing to play like all these picks we're suggesting, like Silas, Yone, Garen. I'm sure there's other Quids probably thought about and just cooked up by himself.
It's really interesting to me because when we saw Nasus for Jensen the other day, he was playing into a 4 melee comp. And I played a lot of Nasus, and I've got to say, your number one problem is getting kited, right? And if you're playing against all these melee champions who are just going to be standing on top of you, giving you easy access, is not really a problem.
Yeah.
The comps that I feel like are really difficult are sometimes not even about the lane matchups. It's like, if you play Nasus into a champion like Alistar, you walk into every single team fight, you get headbutted out, then you walk in, then you get queued, then you get E-stunned, then the headbutts back up. It's like, your problem is reaching backline oftentimes without Flash and Ghost. So, you know, what do you want to see 100 Thieves actually draft to make his life difficult?
So I think one thing that I've liked a lot versus Nasus and playing some of the Nasus, it feels terrible to play against Ivern. You pop Daisy down and Daisy just knocks you up in the air, you get slowed, then you get rooted by the Ivern Q, and then Daisy knocks you up again. So
that's the kind of stuff that makes it unplayable, man.
Yeah, honestly, like Ivern Garen 4-5 from 100 Thieves, I wouldn't mind that. I feel like it's gonna be good against C9 comp so far.
Well, Cloud9 obviously is looking for a pretty heavy dive, it feels like, with the Kaisa, with the Gnar. Expecting some sort of hard engage support, you feel like, for Vulcan. Almost always with Kaisa, it's going to be, you know, Nautilus is taken away, Rel's banned away, so maybe looking towards like an Alistar or something like that. But
yeah,
what kind
almost
of picks would you want
it's gonna
Jojo?
be Alistar for.
It
for
feels
Vulcan.
like kind of has to be, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like Nautilus, Alistar, Rel, those three champs are kind of like interchangeable. Leona gets mixed in as well, but they all kind of do a similar thing. What would you want? Pardon me?
They're just all engaged characters, and that's, to be honest, that's what Vulcan's like best at. You know, he's the engaged guy to me. So just stick him on an engaged character and he'll be solid.
Oh yeah, and Leona is open. I mean, honestly, I don't like this vibe pickup when Ivern Leona is open. Like, I would way rather just have Garen and then last pick jungle, or just pick Ivern yourself. Because I think this Ivern Leona has so much value against 100 Thief comp.
And as annoying as it is to play Nasus against Ivern, it feels so good to play with Ivern because now you're getting shielded up.
Yeah.
Exactly, you're getting the slows. If he ever hits a Q, you get basically a free flash with that. So we're getting the LCK matchup here in the mid lane. It's kind of funny to see how mid lane meta evolves. It goes from like the biggest snooze fest, Corki Azir, to when those are all banned out, all of a sudden it's Nasus Garen.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like 100 Thieves just didn't want River to be put on a champion that can't engage. That's why the Vi was locked in on 4, because I'm sure that Ivern was just a better pick, but I think it just suits their playstyle way more if River is on the champion that can actually initiate the team fight and start something going for the team.
Really quick, we have to toss, but who do you think won the draft, all three of you?
I'm a fan of the 100 Thieves draft, to be honest with you. I like the Garen, I like the Ziggs like Ziggs outranges all these characters. I'm a bit scared of Vi into Ivern, but I think if Ivern doesn't take over this game, I can see Garen just completely running it.
Oh, it's really hard for me to go against Ivern.
I think C9 wins. I think Berserker on Kaisa has...
Mid laner in the LCS. Is Quid the LCS Chovy? Well, he's certainly laying down the exact same counter pick here and laying down the Garen. Let's see if they can also beat it.
And for those of you who might not be super familiar with this, who might be wondering, well, why is Garen the answer? When you think of Nasus, you think of stacking, or if you're a carry, you think of Wither, because the slow is so powerful. But Garen's Q can instantly get rid of that slow. It's so good. Right now, let's go ahead and toss things over to Raz, though. He's standing by for an interview with Reaper.
And I'm hoping to get Reaper to break down that last draft. So on the last game you guys had, it was a tough one. Can you just kind of an assessment of the last game that you had?
Last game we had like all lane parity, and then we played the map really good until like 4th Dragon, I feel like. And then those moments like kinda we seeing often when we play at the playoffs game. We kinda had a lead and then we kinda draw. So right now this draft is kinda like the more team fight and then unexpected way draft. So I hope we are gonna win this game. Yeah.
Okay. I can kind of see the vibes. How are the vibes coming out of that one? Because I saw a few of the players and even just like Jack walking around, it seemed like they're all pretty positive. Like, what's the expectation going forward?
It's gonna be dub today.
That sounds good to me. I'm going to send it straight back to the casters. Go for it. And you break it down.
I'm glad to hear that, Raz saw them looking positive walking around, because it does sound like, and whenever you have a draft change like this, it seems like they have lost confidence in their ability to steamroll 100 Thieves. We're kind of going over it in game number 1, where it was a very, very ego early game. Yeah. We are going to win and snowball off of our early leads. And then upon being unable to accomplish that in the previous game, they are now going back to safety. And maybe we'll see this as a more confidence building game if they're able to win with more team fight tools for themselves and not so much pressure on the clock.
And I also want to remind people what is at stake, especially for Cloud9, because the expectations from this roster at the start of the year, but also since the inception of this roster in the LCS, they basically always go to Worlds. From 2013 to now, only 1 year did they not go to Worlds, and that was 2020. So if they don't win 3 of the next 4 games, that's another no Worlds blemish on that near-perfect timeline.
100 Thieves having a much more even representation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Still
50,
quite good, actually.
Yeah, 50-50 for that is not bad at all.
And for 100 Thieves, since all season long, they have struggled and they have been doubted. There's a reason why everyone predicted for Cloud9 against 100 Thieves. So they have a much more like underdog attitude, and sometimes that can relieve some of the pressure here in the series. And upon winning game number 1, can really boost morale and give them that like we deserve it attitude, as Blaber will pass through.
Yeah, they're going after Quid here. He'll try to get away from that one. Jojo, though, can just stick to him pretty easily. River shows up, provides a little bit of extra pressure to help Quid get away, but River, now the sacrificial lamb for his mid laner's sins. Sniper rotates over, but it's too slow, it's too late. It's first blood for Cloud9.
And that's actually way worse. Because, yeah, you sacrificed and you saved Quid, but you gave double buffs. So Cloud9 are very, very, very happy with that one. Jojo playing the showmaker side of it and having the double buffs here with the gank from Ivern is so nice. Flowers, you were mentioning the Q before, but Quid had been using his Q really, really aggressively. And then with the Ivern coming to follow up, they were able to chase it down. And then once River goes in to try and peel for him, this Ivern is just changing the entire scenery with the slows from the shields popping and then hitting his Qs. Speaking of Qs, Jojo also getting the +12 off that one. Feels so good. First blood money, extra stacks here for the Nasus. Whew.
Yeah, dream start for Jojo. And I think the point that the desk brought up during this draft with the Ivern being available and River opting for Vi could end up really costing him, because I can see the Ivern completely running this game. Even just this lane, giving the brush for Jojo to just stand in is making it so easy for him to safely farm with his Q in this entire laning phase. So really loving this opening from C9.
Blaber just driving by there. You give him the brush, you give him the trigger seed, just help him shove the wave up, make sure everything resets back to a neutral state. Jojo's loving the state of the mid game, or the mid lane, excuse me. Down here in bottom side, Tomo staying closer to Berserker in farm than what we saw in the previous game. Ziggs should be able to farm pretty effectively in most situations, as Blaber just again trying to always be a nuisance here on the Ivern against River. I like what the Lounge was talking about back in the draft about how, yeah, Ivern feels like it could have been really good on the 100 Thieves side too, but if you're 100 Thieves, you also want River having the go button. I mean, remember last game, it was him making the plays so many times. Because now the flash dredge line from Eyla doesn't connect because Jojo can flash away in response. River's still ready to maybe keep fighting, but honestly, with Jojo having an ult and an Ivern right next to him, they're not getting this kill.
Yeah, they do get the flash out of Jojo. Mid lane obviously is going to be a battleground this game, and it is the Q max first instead of putting extra points into E, because in the Nasus versus Garen here, he's really focusing on getting a lot of early stacks.
Yeah.
And again, when you get those Qs onto kills as well, really helps accelerate. So we'll see the objective trade though in the end. Yeah. Cloud9 taking Dragon as River transitions up into the top side of the map for grubs.
This is a very similar thing to what we saw in the first game. River has secured those first 2 grubs. Remember that in game number 1, both times Cloud9 was able to walk up with Blaber, smite steal the 3rd one. This time Blaber's not there yet. The rest of C9's ready to deal with it. Meanwhile, Blaber's under pressure on the other side of the map as Tomo and Eyla go in after him. Void Grub's gonna be secured by River up on the top side at the same time as well, but 100 Thieves are in a bad spot. Jojo's a raid boss. 100 Thieves need to get the hell out of town. It's a 3-0 game for C9.
Oh, it's all Cloud9 at the beginning of this game. Reaper gave them a more comfortable draft for later in the game, but they're not waiting till later in the game. They're getting kills all over the map. I was a little bit more worried than it sounded like in your voice for that Ziggs bomb that was so close to an 8 health dragon, but that didn't end up stealing it either, so they came out ahead there anyways, even with the little bit early smite, still get their dragon and then getting their kills. Thanks for the replay here. We're going to see it. This is why I didn't say anything, but I was clenching as this was happening.
Well, it missed. It was too high.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was close as hell. That thing exploded. Not close enough, though.
The fight at the bottom side here over the grubs, when there's a Mega Gnar and a level 6 Nasus, I understand. I guess you're Garen Renekton. You feel like you also have the Giga Bruiser power spikes, but this to me wasn't even a close fight, and Jojo is just so extra accelerated now after this engagement.
Yeah, that felt a little bit silly from 100 Thieves going in for that. I'm guessing maybe the plan was try to burst Vulcan or something at the very beginning. Now they're trying to find that damage on him yet again. Leona is so very tanky. They need a little bit more damage to do it. It looked like they wanted to save the Demacian Justice, but end up committing it anyway. And now they need to get this wave shoved up. But once again, Jojo reaches into his back pocket, finds an Ivern.
I mean, you gotta admit, it's a little goofy. Like the way these fights are playing out.
I love it.
They're just spamming R buttons, and it's just a bunch of tanks standing on top of each other.
If I presented the choice to anyone in chat for Corki Azir or Nasus Garen, I'm going to say chat would vote like 97%. We leave the room for the trolls.
For now. For now.
To be able to see this,
It's because it's different, but it's a little goofy. And I think to the point as well, Berserker is going to feast in this game on Kaisa against all these melee champions, and really, whether Garen or Nasus get more fed, I think they're the ones that are going to run the team fights, because everyone just has to stand on top of each other, so whoever has the most stats could end up snowballing this game.
Yeah, I feel like Ziggs as well is going to have kind of a feast here. If everyone's grouped up for the AoE for Tomo, we could see some very big value from those bombs. So
Eyla's still only level 5, finally gets the ulti right now, but Cloud9's already found a ton of damage on him. Daisy is bloodthirsty, would need a little bit more to finish him off. Eyla survives, he drank his potion.
Daisy's like, where's my team? I'm taking out this Nautilus myself. Where's the backup? Can't quite get it, but it doesn't matter because you saw what it did to the mini-map there. It brought all the extra 100 Thieves members over, and so Jojo, this Nasus, continuing to get gains on the bottom side, got all the way up to the turret plate down, and the stacks, 165 already.
That's a lot.
Pre-10 minutes into the game, and this is what you get with your Q-Max version of the Nasus in mid here, stacking up early, plus getting the bonuses off the kills. Like, actually really, really accelerated Nasus game.
So one thing about that Nasus as well, when you look at 100 Thieves, this isn't like last time when they played Ziggs and then they still had a marksman mid anyway because of a Corki. You don't have that big late game DPS threat. Nasus likes Trinity Force and tank items.
Yeah.
Who the hell's going to kill him?
I mean, Leandri's is going to be purchased, but it's not like you've got Ivern shields on top of him, and I don't think anyone's going to kill him is my answer, really, Flowers. You know, everybody else is melee, and if you're going to melee the Nasus that has stacked up this quickly,
this is a fight.
He's going to melee you back.
100 Thieves looking to start this one off. They want to go for the high-value target, and Blaber is already down before he can be that support that he needs to be. Flash over the wall from Tomo to escape into the Dragon Pit, but Berserker's ready to flash after him. Jojo looking to escape now, too, as Berserker gets one back on Tomo. 1 for 1 thus far. Berserker's got to try to make it home. He does not have his flash. River wants him, but he ain't going to find him.
I mean, really good engage there by 100 Thieves to make sure they could get rid of the shields early on in the fight, but Berserker saved it at the end there, chasing Tomo over the wall and getting the kill. I'd still actually say that would be advantage Cloud9 in the short term, but a fight in mid lane now is Sniper!
Oh, Sniper flashes in for the Ruthless Predator, has that last little bit of extra auto attack range thanks to the buff on the ability to lock up Berserker and get the extra kill.
All right, it is goofy, Jatt. Look at this.
Yes! Yes!
The mid lane dive leaves it open for Thanatos here. Luckily, they have Ziggs to be able to clear it, but that costs a turret plate as well. Thanatos up in the tower.
I mean, this is what peak drafting looks like currently.
Love it. I'm having fun.
And it comes from North America.
It came from Korea.
No, it's from North America right now.
Okay, it is. It is in North America currently. I agree.
I know that it came from Korea. I'm just, come on, let me have this.
I mean, just think of the power that Chovy has over the world right now. Like, who else could play Nasus Garen, and then everyone else in the world is like, you know what? Yes, we must try it. And it is, weirdly enough, hard to argue with because the way the Nasus works, we should explain it a little bit. When he's up against a mage, he can max E, clear the wave, get push. When he's up against melee, he's going to max Q, get fed throughout the game. And then even in late game teamfights, once he maxes his E, he can shred the enemy front line by 45% of their armor. And then you just wither that guy and the team focuses him. So it is actually a very powerful pick.
Plus, in laning phase, he takes fleet footwork, extra little bit of healing there. We joke about this all the time because of the amount of abilities in League of Legends. The word description is a book report.
They even feed him the stacks. But how nice.
He's got the 12% lifesteal. On
that too.
That keeps you in lane. That keeps you stacking.
The simplest of paths.
Yeah, 240 stacks at 12.5 minutes.
All right, well, good luck, LCS showmaker here, Jojo. Let's see. I know he is a big fan. See if they can actually snowball this one, though, because the gold is basically dead even. Just ticking over tiny bit here, 400 Thieves, as Cloud9 will retain their double dragon lead. But remind you that the Void Grubs were all picking up by 100 Thieves, so we'll keep track of the tower pressure that they are able to get. And Quid has been able to finish his Stride Breaker now, which is such an annoying item. It's always this Garen rush where it gives him so much utility.
Yeah.
Slowing you to be able to go for plays like this.
Jojo eats a chunk of damage, but again, not really a whole lot. They want to keep engaging. River going in for the dive. The bomb arrives from Tomo. They bust up the tier 1 turret, but they're very far forward. It's a 1-for-1 trade. River for Jojo. The Nasus is out of the picture, but Cloud9 is calling in backup. Quid's going to be careful here. 40% HP left on him, but a teleport for a teleport's the name of the game as Sniper ready to participate now as well. Dredgeline from Vulcan would have been a lockup. Dredgeline from Eyla onto Vulcan, excuse me. So Vulcan having to flash away on that Leona to make sure he doesn't give an extra one over to the Thieves, who are now 1,500 gold ahead.
So let's count it, Flowers. It was a kill, it was the tower, and it was an extra minion wave that got pushed in here. Sniper teleported later because he finished up that top minion wave. Every one of those extra waves really does count. It's not just the gold, but also the experience there. And then his teleport still was able to rebuff the Cloud9 counterattack there. So nicely done from 100 Thieves.
That's a $10 word, rebuff. I like that.
Thank you. I'll expect my payment after the cast.
The other thing I really like about that fight is the timing from 100 Thieves when Jojo was out of mana. So even though he's incredibly fed and has a ton of Q stacks, he just didn't have the ability to use them. So they surprised him with the fake safety under the turret when Ziggs comes down, blows it up, and then also Jojo couldn't necessarily fight back. So River trying to find those windows with this Vi to find the right fights.
C9 going after the Rift Herald now. Looks like they'll be the ones to start this up. But you can see 100 Thieves, no men on the bottom side of the map. They might try to contest this. Tomo has the Mega Inferno Bomb, but with C9 having the control over this, Ivern also such a nuisance with these brushes, creating these extra pockets of safety around neutral objectives in this way, makes it so C9 can secure that one just pretty easily, as Tomo has to make his way all the way out of mid lane, go the long way around. He'll stay safe for now. We'll see how Cloud9 can use this Rift Herald, how much value they can get. Reminder that last game, C9 is up to about a 4,500 gold lead before things started to swing back the way of the Thieves in the mid game past the 20-minute mark. Thieves are having a much better early game this time around, despite the Omega stack Nasus.
And there was a recent quote by Quid about how much their team has actually improved and how he's really excited about how good of a team they are and really hopes they win so they can continue to stay together and play this year. And it's stuff like this that kind of reminds, or is kind of proof in the pudding, where we're in the mid game, 15, 60 minutes in. They play side lanes well. They're on the same page about their engages. They did win the first game against Cloud9. They eliminated Dignitas. I want to see if they can continue to keep this pressure up, because even though I do see Jojo at 303 stacks at 16 minutes and think, oh my God, how are they going to deal with this? If they can prevent C9 from getting pressure in the right waves and continue to take out these turrets, they could win this game.
There's a mini Gnar on my screen. Nicely done with the vision here. Thanatos, mini Gnar is always, you know, this target for dive, so River was kind of heading down, but they did have vision in their jungle, which saw the transition over, so Thanatos just walk right back, does not overextend, but that is a very viable burst target for them to go for, so good defensive vision is always a must here, especially since Jojo just wants to stack freely in the top lane. You see him right now doing it. Pushing up there while this Ziggs demolishes the mid lane tower, but we are already up to 327 stacks for Jojo.
327 for Jojo, and I like the fact you were talking about like target selection and something earlier. Blaber being exploded at the beginning of that fight around this bottom lane tier 1 turret against 100 Thieves, the one they won last, I think is going to be a critical step in 100 Thieves' success for the entire rest of this game. Ivern is such a pain in the butt if he can spam all of those shields, all of those brushes, but if you take him out early, he's not super tanky.
Yeah, and his focus is on keeping that Nasus up. Keep the Nasus on the front line, and he will be able to put out enough pressure as they take down this top tower. Everybody's going for it too. It might be a dive after.
There's no plating left. The Nasus is so stacked, it's very easy to burn down the turret. Quid, no chance to get away from that one. And now Vulcan is driving Shelly right into the tier 2. Gonna look to take that one down, finds the collision, but now 100 Thieves are still willing to fight. What in the hell? River just delivers them an extra death.
River not respecting the ejection out of Rift Herald right there. That's a Leona driving that thing. You don't want to catch a Leona popping out, so nicely done from Vulcan. He used it to get the tower damage, and he basically ganked River. We'll count it.
It feels like 100 Thieves just kind of temporarily lost focus there. Quid, 4 people sneaking up on him. He still burns his flash, even though no one is there to defend him. And then River at the end of that, as Kobe mentioned, just forgetting that Leona is actually driving the Rift Herald. It really just equalizes the game right there in terms of gold.
I think it's one of the biggest things differentiating this top 3 in the LCS from the rest of the teams has been what they do to accelerate through the mid game. And it leads to scenarios like this where it feels like 100 Thieves, like you're saying, they're like a little bit dizzy or a little bit behind the plays in reacting to them. And then Cloud9 just gained so much off of it. It wasn't just a successful topside play, but
River jumps in, but he only finds Vulcan. Dredge line to follow it up. 100 Thieves is committing onto a support. Got to be careful about that one. C9 regrouping, ready to continue their defense. Quid and River on the side. Daisy's probably just going to die to Tomo here. That last little auto attack in the air takes her out of the picture. Jojo's still on the front line. 100 Thieves moving into enemy territory to steal away the red buff, control the vision, force Cloud9 back as Quid shoves up the wave towards the tier 2 turret in the bottom lane. They want to take this one. They've got the 6 grubs. River's going in, but where's the follow-up? Nobody else is there in time. The tier 2 turret is at least going to fall, but River has to flash away, just barely keeping himself alive. Sniper flashes in. They haven't found any value targets here just yet. Jojo's still on the front line, but it's a killing spree for Berserker. 100 Thieves. They might have got the turret, but they're just not on the same page in the fights.
They keep trying to force, and Ivern is keeping everybody up here for Cloud9. The defensive play for Cloud9 on the back of it, even though 100 Thieves get their tower. Look how deep they go. It's a little bit too far for some of the follow-up. They do get the Ziggs bomb, but the redemption comes down from the Ivern. There's a little bit of peel there. Then he hits the Q onto River, which forces River's flash and him out of the fight. Then he gets another shield as you get the re-engage. Then it's Gnar disengage, and 100 Thieves are unable to, like you say, kind of force everyone at the same time to actually get a kill target. And because it's so disjointed, it gives enough time for all these shields and heals to come out and peel for Cloud9.
And I gotta give props there to Vulcan, making sure he puts himself in the way of Eyla's dredge line. If that would have connected on Thanatos after River's initial engage, they probably kill him in mini Gnar before he can go Mega. Maybe the fight looks really different, but Vulcan's doing a good job playing that Vanguard.
And to me, it is going to be all about the Ivern and them just having the correct team fight position. It's because if it's Leona or Nasus or Gnar that's taking damage and it's Ivern shielding him, I just don't think the damage is high enough by 100 Thieves to meaningfully win the fight when you're getting those shields multiplied by the resistance of all these bruisers.
So the one thing that I also want to point out, the inventory for Quid, second item fully completed. Kobe already talked about the Stride Breaker and how that's the core for Garen. Second item, Mortal Reminder here, because he knows he's going to need Armor Pen. We're already talking about how this is just a meatball entree where all the tanks are just standing on top of each other pressing R, plus the heal cut. Nasus does so much healing. Ivern is going to be able to provide extra support. He's even got the Redemption, the Moonstone Renewer. There's a lot of healing here, so being able to cut that down on everybody you're dealing damage to helps a ton. But man, when River just keeps finding himself in these really ridiculous positions, 100 Thieves are in a pretty tough spot. Cloud9 with that pick. Let's see what else they can get off of it.
I mean, they might be able to get Baron off of this. I can understand why River's trying to find these picks because I think the situation is actually that dire with the way this game has gone so far. And now, 4v5 at the Baron pit. 100 Thieves trying to stop it.
All right, Cloud9 challenging 100 Thieves to answer this attempt on the Baron. It's already down to 7,000 HP. There is no jungler for the Thieves. Eyla decides to go for the engage. The Baron's down to 1,200. It's secured by Blaber, and now there's no way for the Thieves to take the fight in a 3v5. Quid spinning, he ain't winning. Cloud9's grinning, it's all smiles as 100 Thieves can't keep up. Vulcan and Jojo jumping in, making sure they get 4 of them. Tomo's still standing, but there's nothing left to do but run. Game 2 belongs to Cloud9.
Cloud9 dropped 3 members of 100 Thieves, and Flowers drops bars on him as well. The Baron buff acquired for C9, and honestly, probably the game. Let's look at how it all started, though. It was River queuing into the brush.
They just saw him at the last second, so he had to go early, trying to do a little bit of hide and seek. And then this is just absolute desperation by 100 Thieves. The redemption there from Blaber. As long as Tomo doesn't perfectly burst the Baron with his Ziggs combo, they don't get that. They were never going to win this fight. As Quid, you can see spinning on top of anyone who gets Ivern shielded. Doesn't do any damage to take people down to half health.
Okay, we base on Ziggs in 1 minute, guys. It's our slow. Reset. Take a deep breath.
Can we take mid tower first? I think it's pretty OP.
No. Trust me.
He sounded like a teacher talking to his guy. No.
Bad Blaber. No. Calm down. Take a deep breath.
Get the soul.
I love that focus, though, especially after game number 1. You know, there's going to be a lot of overreactions after game number 1.
Yeah.
And, you know, both Reapers said it, as well as you could hear in-game Vulcan really trying to be that calming leader for the team. Focus step by step here. Get yourselves back into the series with a win here to try and even it, and then you can start to look more aggressive.
And they've stayed very connected this entire game, even if they looked very disconnected in game 1. I think partially that is kind of the only way you can play this team comp since you're all just melee champions that run in together. But even this play right here, nice timing to go in.
Vulcan with a solar flare, tries to lock up Tomo. 100 Thieves can disengage in time, but not fast enough to save their tier 1 turret. Daisy's the only one who really takes any meaningful damage there. So Cloud9 can just back away. Cloud9 with a Cloud Soul now as well. Nasus loves this soul.
Nasus certainly does. It's going to be turbocharged Nasus with an Ivern buffing him up. Just running at you at light speed here. We'll see if Cloud9 make any blunders, but I very much doubt it in this game.
Yeah.
They just have so much power, and it's so straightforward for them to finish it out. And we already heard the comms as well, with them being very focused on being methodical, step by step. We're just going to 4-1 split push here. Actually, Blaber will hover Jojo a little bit, so it's a 3-2 split push with top and mid.
I am a little curious to see how much they can just walk through turrets, because Ziggs is going to be able to clear waves, you would think. And they are all melee champions, basically, in a team fight when Thanatos turns Mega. So it might not be super fast, even if they have a huge lead, unless they actually get like a big team fight outside of the 100 Thieves base.
Well, you're talking about everybody's melee champions. The only ranged one is the Kaisa,
Berserker.
but I see a Seeker's arm guard. And to me, that is Kaisa just pedal to the metal, not reading the stop signs anymore. It's time to go in.
And while we love to focus on stacks here, it's actually Berserker that is the one just running rampant. You know, 6 kills for him. A Berserker just basically gets to live in a dream world, killing every one of those melee champs. And as you say, Flowers, he can even go melee a little bit if he's feeling risky with his with his arm guard. And then we'll see next Baron setup here. They're already going to take over the jungle. It is 2 minutes away, but as you highlight, it's very short-range team compositions. So oftentimes, you know, even when you do get super deep into the game, it's still going to be one of these neutral objectives where they try and pull you out to it. And then, hey, we have Leona and Ivern. That is great turnaround off of neutral objectives. Fish for Leona ults and Ivern Q follow-ups so that everybody can then get to take that Ivern travel distance, and all the melee champions just go zooming forward.
So we are at a state right now where every single summoner spell on both teams is available. That's something I'm also going to be watching for in this last minute and a half lead up towards the Baron, is can anybody force any summoner spells out? Can anybody just try to tip those scales a little bit?
Well, I think in the side lane, that is definitely possible. Thanatos is 3 items now with the Gnar. He actually added the Wit's End for extra magic resistance from... He knows he's split pushing against melee champs, but the Ziggs bomb is going to come over the top, and so Thanatos is kind of protecting against that as well, even though we're focusing on Jojo split pushing first.
They might go for him on Sniper. I'm just waiting for 100 Thieves to try and make a fast play somewhere, because if they slow play all the way to the Baron buff, they're going to lose. So if ever Jojo is pushed up, you can see Sniper tried to make a quick play there in the bottom lane. I think more realistically, Blaber or Berserker would be the targets that River would maybe try and flash ult and then have everyone flash in behind him, because if they actually have a straight up 5v5, it's heavily in the favor of C9.
Certainly is. And even the split pushes, now we have a completed Spirit Visage for Jojo. So both the split pushers have magic resist to deal with the bombs coming over the top too, and they're ahead as far as their individual counterparts. So Cloud9 will be able to utilize that to get 2 lanes in their control once again.
See, they thought just in case somebody might have been in that brush, they immediately wanted to engage with Vulcan's Zenith Blade, but 100 Thieves knows better. They know how far behind they are. When we saw Quid versus Jojo in the bottom lane, this is the point of doom for Garen. If Nasus hitting you on the head with auto attacks does not, or out DPS's Garen's spin, it's over. Garen's under the turret for the rest of the game. And right now, C9 has total control over the Baron pit as 100 Thieves trying to look for any sort of an approach angle here. Eyla hits him with the dredge line, but it's not really that valuable. Over the wall comes River. They're trying to get Berserker, but it doesn't even matter. Tomo's already dead, and the Seeker's arm guard prevents any sort of retaliation. 100 Thieves have already lost 2 men, and it's not stopping there. Sniper wants his hero moment. Instead, he gets slammed back into the wall and beat down into the ground. A double kill for Jojo. Baron is no longer required. This game is done.
C9 bounced back in a big way. Solid game all around for them. Thanatos, I think, really bouncing back, getting one of his Gnar comfort picks here, and this one didn't really feel that close.
C9 made it look pretty easy. The Garen was not the answer to the Nasus. The Ivern helped the entire time. C9 takes the dub in game 2. They tie up this series, and they pad their stats doing it just to add insult to injury. 17-4. C9 makes it 1-1.
Reaper tells them to calm down a little bit. They get a more calm team composition, and they roll here. Cloud9 evening it up. Let's see about this exciting series.
I think a lot less stress for C9 fans after this one. Game 1, there seemed to be a lot of cause for concern with Nidalee LeBlanc getting outscaled. But this time, they did pick a good scaling team composition into what 100 Thieves had, and then their early game execution led to an easy victory.
Feels like live by the river, die by the river. Game number 1 is engages were awesome. Game number